11 o'clock and we are going to start. People may just pipe in just like Brooke did, and that's certainly okay. I'd like to just say hello and welcome to this portion of your FET training. This webinar is a continuation to the brief 9-slide online introduction to evaluation that you have completed prior to getting on this webinar. So let me ask you, were most of you able to do the 9 slides before you did the webinar today?
I was able to do the slides, but I wasn't able to post any questions.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I was able to do the module before it, but I wasn't able, it said that you had to post evaluation questions.
Yes.
I wasn't able to do that.
Okay, some maybe were able to and some maybe were not. That's all right, as long as you got the 9 slides in. And if you didn't get the 9 slides done before this, you can go back and do them. I would highly recommend that. It's just a nice prep to this webinar, so you might want to go back and get that information if you haven't done it yet. So today, we are going to work with and discuss the specific levels of evaluation. As we proceed, I'll just ask you to mute your speakers until you wish to make a comment. However, if you're in a very quiet office, you do not need to keep muting and unmuting. You can keep it unmuted so that you can just freely participate. Only if there's a lot of background noise will I ask you to mute so that it isn't distracting for the rest of us. Is that understandable to everybody?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Our roadmap for today's webinar is pretty straightforward, right to the point. We're going to define, we're going to describe, and we're going to work with the 4 levels of evaluation. You have an opportunity to learn about and practice classifying evaluation inquiries into 4 levels. So also feel free to have your identified pages in your FET handout handy, just as a reference for you as we do this. Okay? So what is to come out of this training today is that you will be able to classify evaluation questions into 4 different levels. All right? And how we're going to do that is we're going to define, describe, and work with the 4 levels so that when it comes time to do that, you'll feel comfortable and able to do it. All right, prior to logging on to this webinar on the Introduction to Evaluation, you were introduced to the purpose of evaluation, why we would go to the trouble of doing evaluation. You reviewed some pros and cons of conducting evaluation, and then you were asked to post 3 or 4 ways to collect evaluation data that either you have used in training, if you're already training, or those that you've experienced in workshops having been a participant. That would fall, all of us have been participants and have been dealing with evaluation questions every time we go to a conference. Also on our face-to-face, if you remember the debate we did, that's where we talked about the value of or not liking evaluation. And I think the concurring and certainly the cumulative conclusion of that debate was that evaluation does have a place and it is definitely worth doing. Even if there are cons, the pros outnumber the cons for sure. These activities set the groundwork for our webinar today as we learn about and work with the 4 levels of evaluation. Do you have any questions at this point?
No.
Okay. Are there other people on besides Tricia, Shana, and Brooke that will talk with us?
Hi, this is Katie.
Katie? Okay, welcome, Katie.
Thanks.
I heard something, but not loud enough, so it looks like people are getting on. I'm going to proceed then. The 4 levels of evaluation are randomly listed on the screen. I just want you to take a look. In reality, there is a specific order for them to be from level 1 to level 4. As you're looking at this list, which one of these do you think is evaluation at level 1, and why do you think it is considered level 1?
Susan, do you want us to speak up?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
This is Katie, and I'll just go ahead and say that I think participant reaction would probably be level 1 because that's the most I guess for lack of a better word, shallow.
Yeah, that's a good word, actually. And that is level 1. Participant reaction is level 1, and it's level 1 because it's the easiest to gain. It is the easiest to get, and everybody has an opinion about, what they were attending. So that's exactly right. So which one of these do you folks think is level 2? Anybody can speak up.
Probably participant learning.
Oh. Now you have level 3. Level 2 is exactly that, participant learning. And what does participant learning mean to you in terms of evaluation?
Sue,
Yes?
this is Warnell. I couldn't get it on the computer, so I'm listening to you. Okay.
Yep. Yes, we have a couple others doing that too, and that's just great. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So level 2, how did that one come up there? Is participant learning. So what does that mean to you? The first one was participant reaction, what they felt, what they feel about the training, how they liked it, how they liked the trainer, how they liked the handouts, how they liked stuff. What is participant learning all about?
This is Tricia. I would say what the participant is taking away, something new that they learned, or an aha moment, or something that struck them.
Okay, yeah, it's trying to get at the content that you covered and, what they learned about. I maintain that they haven't really learned it at the end of the workshop, but they have learned about it and should be able to give you some indication of what they've learned by doing that. And level 3 is what?
Behavior change.
You're right, behavior change. It's so tiny. There we go. Behavior change. Now, what does that mean to you?
What they took from
It's
their
actually
learning and
using,
applied it.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if they're using
They're actually using something that they have learned.
exactly a result of their learning and implementation, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. And then, of course, that leaves the final one, level 4, as participant, the results and impact, actually. Now, what does that mean to you?
They've already changed it within their classroom, and then they could see the results and how it impacted the room.
Yeah, the room or who?
The children.
Exactly. Results and impact can be shown through either the room, the environment, the children, the families. So we've got program, children, or families as a way that you can see, of course, depending on what your topic was and what your focus is. All right. So the 4 levels of evaluation are listed here now in the proper order, just so that you can see how that flows. Participant reaction, participant learning, then behavior change, and then results and impact. And it happens in pretty much that order. Do you have any questions about this order or comments?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, this was not invented by TIP at all. There are books and books and books about the levels of evaluation, just to let you know. All right, we're going to look at level 1, deals with participant reaction, and at this level, the trainer is seeking feedback on the training session itself. So this takes place right at the end of the workshop. And if you notice, it says that this is done at the training. And the kinds of questions that a trainer might ask would be something like, what did you enjoy about this training session? Are you satisfied with the support materials that you received? How effective was your trainer? So you're getting at various things and trying to find out how the participants like those. The methods for this, and you may want to just think about this or write this down, the kinds of methods that you would have might be a rating scale. On a scale of 1 to 5, what did you think about such and such, right? It could be an open-ended question. How did you feel the support materials will help you back home? And then they have to write. It's an open-ended question, whatever they write. You might even have yes-no questions in there. the trainer was effective, yes or no, or on a scale of 1 to 5, how effective was the trainer? Does that make sense to all of you listening?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
In level 2, it's participant learning, and at this level, you are asking the participants to recall what they learned about. And again, this is right at the end of the training session. Do you remember what I said at the face-to-face in terms of the participant learning in training? Does anybody recall what I said about what I feel about learning happening at training?
You learn about.
Yeah. And I just want you to keep that in mind. It's not a rule. It's just, I think it helps us realize people do learn about things in training, but that the learning actually takes place, later on when they go back and they start applying it, and it really starts to make concrete sense to them because they're doing it. So the kinds of examples that you would see in terms of participant learning would be, list at least 4 out of the 6 strategies that you practice. And in doing that, you're asking people to recall what they learned about. It's not a test. It's just seeing if they can list at least 4 kinds of things. You might not be asking for all of them, but some of them. And then as you read the evaluations, you'll find out, gee, what ones were really, hitting on the participants and what they got out of it. You might ask to identify a set of principles that are being discussed in that topic. If you've offered some principles, what are they? Tell me what those principles are. Sometimes having them complete a post-training inventory can be part of this. And then finally, describing strategies that support the content that you were discussing. That would be a little more open-ended, but for them to talk about the strategies that they remember practicing or learning about. Does this make sense to you folks?
Yes.
Okay, and remember that level 1 and level 2 you are very practiced in as a participant because those are the kinds of questions you will see on the end of a session evaluation. You've either written them a lot in your life or you've at least participated in answering them, right?
Yes.
All right. As we move on to level 3, that's where you're going to see a little bit of a difference, all right? Because level 3 questions are done after the training is over, and as you see in the parentheses, it says 4 to 8 weeks after training. That's just a guide for you, okay? And you might say, well, how do I know if it should be 4 weeks or 8 weeks later? Well, what I would say to you is think about your content. Can you think of a content where a behavior change could happen quite quickly after training?
Room arrangement.
Room arrangements, you are absolutely right. Once you've done a training on the learning environment and you've given the principles and what they might want to do and they've even practiced it in your training, my guess is even a day to a week after, if they're serious about implementation, that will be done. So see how that could vary. And then maybe a topic that would take much, much longer to start implementing and getting, feeling a little confident in it where a behavior change is happening. What topic, can you think of one that would fit that bill?
Asking open-ended questions.
Yeah, adult-child interaction, things like being better at asking open-ended questions. You really want to give the participants a good 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever you think, to practice it and actually be making some changes. So you want to keep that in mind. You'll notice too that the kinds of things that we'd be doing is a pre-post list of materials, if they're making improvements on the kinds of materials they're making available to children, a pre and post set of materials, that would often, pre and post set of photos, which would be, again, back on your topic of learning environment, you might be having them taking photos of before the room is changed around and after the room is changed.
Nobody can hear it. It's that we're on it, but we're having to listen to it by phone because we can't get online.
Okay, if you're talking to your co-partner, mute and then turn back on. Then the third one is pre and post observation narratives describing what's occurring. Is that a familiar term to you when I say pre and post observation narrative?
Yes.
Okay, and again, topic would dictate some of these kinds of things, and this is not a finite set. There are other ways that you can measure too. But what is the definitive difference between what you do in level 3 and what you're doing in level 1 and 2? Can you tell just by looking at the slide?
There's more reflection on practice.
Definitely reflection. What else?
Documentation.
Yes, and particularly what kind of documentation? Look at each one of those bullets.
Before and after.
Yes, there's the phrase that is key, and that is the before and after. If you know you're going to want to have them make a difference in the layout of their room, have them draw a diagram before they come to the training, or at least at the training, have that be something they do, is to diagram their room as it is pre-training. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And then afterwards, when you do the post, you've got something to measure, and you can document and measure change to show that the training has actually had an effect. So that becomes really critical in level 3. And what's happening is that the person who is at the training, the participant, is making a change in their behavior that can be measured, and you can write a report back to the folks who hired you to say, here's what we asked them to do, here's what the training was on, here's what they went back and did, and here's the percent of change that's now happening in the learning environments in your center. What does that feel like to you? Does that make sense as a next step?
It
Okay.
seems like more of a value add kind of evaluation where you can really make the case to the people, that would be hiring you to show how your training is resulting in change.
Absolutely. It's measurable, and that is key. That pre-post makes it measurable. So that note in itself is important. Pre-post equals measurable. And right now what we're measuring is behavior change. Those people that came to the training are doing something different. And you can measure that difference. Now, we're going to take it one step further than that, because if the participants are making a change in their behavior, if they're doing something differently, and you already are starting to see those changes 4 and 6 and 8 weeks after training, what then should happen with the children if the adults are making changes?
They should change too.
Sure, be
Yeah, and so what we call that, if I can get my screen to change, is results and impact. So you see how that just flows so nicely? In other words, so way back at the beginning, you know you're going to make some learning environment changes. And the idea, the reason it all came up is because children, I'm just using this hypothetically. Children are running all over the place, and the staff feel like they don't have much control over the children because the room is just a free-for-all. So the director says, and they say, I think we need a training on the learning environment. Teachers, go to your training on learning environment and learn some really solid principles to put into the classroom that will help children not run over, help children engage themselves more in materials and so on. Then don't you want to be able to measure that as well?
Yes.
Yes, because the behavior change should then result in some change in how children are utilizing that room. That said, here's the kinds of things that you can look at in terms of measuring in level 4 for results and impact. You're looking at children and what it's helping them do differently. Perhaps there's a percent of decrease that children are not absent from the program as much. Maybe that was a workshop on hand washing. And because children and adults are washing their hands more regularly and more consistently, now you're seeing a drop in absenteeism, all right? Or a percentage increase in children engaged in cooperative play. Perhaps you've added specific materials after the environment workshop that allow children more opportunity to play together, and so you're going to measure that. You're going to measure it before and you're going to measure it after. Or children solving problems independently. You've done a workshop on the problem-solving approach to conflicts, and now you're seeing a difference in, you could be looking at how often children are solving their own problems, how long it takes them, and how many children are, in fact, making an attempt. So you see all the things you can look at?
Yes.
Now, you have to know that up front, too, because you have to get some documentation on how often they're solving problems now. What strategies are they using to solve problems now? And then, what strategies are they doing after the teacher has made the difference in using better problem-solving strategies with them? And then I think, let's see, the other one is, this was brought up, too. If you're given a workshop on adult-child interactions and you really concentrated on using open-ended questions better, right? That's the change you're asking from the adult. Then what we should see is an increase in the child's mean length of utterance in responses to those questions, right?
Correct.
So you're going to want to baseline that early on before they make their changes, and you'll have some task for them when you ask a child a question. You know, you'll look at maybe 2 or 3 children over, you know, a brief period of time and just document the mean length of their utterances. And then 8 weeks after training, when teachers are doing a more intentional job of using open-ended questions, you should be able to look at children now 3 months after that, right? Now that's additional time with teachers getting better at the open-ended questions, right?
Yes.
So 3 to 6 months after the training, you want to be able to measure children's mean length of utterance and see a difference too. So you see how that works?
Yes.
In that process, you also have an additional report that you can send to adults, to the participants that took the training, and to the people who hired you, and saying, not only, you know, have we seen a change in behavior from the staff that attended this workshop and those statistics, now I have statistics to share with you in what that change of behavior has caused in terms of resultant impact on the children. Now, how do you think that's going to be received by the folks hiring you to do training?
Awesome.
Awesome is absolutely right. Anybody else? Do you think they would be apt to call you up again?
Yes.
Yes.
It would be a real driving force, I think. So when you look at this and you say, well, level 3 and level 4 is a lot more work, it is more work. When you get, of course, like anything else, the better and better you get at it, it doesn't become a lot more work, it just becomes an additional piece of work that has its rewards. And those rewards are?
And better services to children.
Better services to children, that's the ultimate thing, that's right. What are the things that are happening to make it worth you saying, I want to start doing level 3 and level 4 evaluation after my training is over? What's happening with the adults?
They're getting better too.
They're getting better, and because they're getting better, what are we seeing with the children who are in the program?
Quality goes up.
Quality goes up, children are reacting better, so children are growing as a result of it too. Now that's a lot of reasons right there to say to yourself, I think I need to really begin to start doing level 3 and level 4 training or evaluation. But remember, planning for this comes way back when you're doing the needs assessment. What do we want to see as a change in behavior? What should result from that change in behavior? And then measure those 2 things. Doesn't have to be a lot of stuff at all. In fact, less is more, right?
Yes.
But you just have to have 1 or 2 pieces of pre-information, pre-facts, you know, that so that when you come back 8 weeks later with the adults and 3 months later with the children, you'll be able to measure against that. Okay?
Okay.
Comments or questions about that before we move on?
I have a question. This is Katie.
Sure.
So it sounds to me like the level of evaluation that we choose is completely up to us. Am I correct in that, or does it adhere, like, if I'm doing a level 1 training, then I need to use a level 1 assessment. If I'm doing level 4 training, I need to use a level 4 assessment or evaluation?
I'm glad you asked that question because the levels in training have nothing to do with the levels of the actual workshop you've leveled, okay? These levels of evaluation should all be used for all training. And let me go back. Level 1 and level 2 questions are used on just about any and all evaluation forms you've ever gotten in any training you've ever gone to. Does everybody get that?
Yes.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah. The written evaluation that you give or that you've been given at workshops you go to always address level 1 and 2. Okay?
Well, how do you get the level 3 and 4
So
evaluation?
level 3 and 4 is what the trainer is striving to move beyond just that written evaluation that you do at the end of the training. This is follow-up later, you know, making sure, and that is what I'm saying, like if you're going to do a learning environment workshop, in order to see if there's behavior change on the teacher, in terms of rearranging a room, you're going to want that teacher to bring in or do as an opening activity, let's just say, draw a diagram of their current configuration of their child, of the classroom that they teach in. Now you've got your pre, all right? So the task of the trainer is, what change do I want to have take place? And what does that mean that they should be doing in order to know that that change has taken place? That's the pre. Once you do the training and they go back and they make those changes, then you'll ask them in a couple of weeks, send me a diagram of the current layout of your classroom. And from that you get from the folks coming to your training, you can write up a report saying, we did a training on the learning environment. I shared these principles of the learning environment, and I have 57% of your staff have made a change, and you can even give percent of the kinds of changes they've made based on the principles you shared in training. Does that sound sequential to you? Do you get the sequence of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions on these levels? Are you very clear that the level of training you do has nothing to do with these levels?
Yeah, okay, I do have a question. In order to get these evaluations on these levels, do you email the trainees that were in your
Yes.
training?
You know, you can use mail, you can go there in person, you can email, but all of us would probably agree that the most efficient way, and probably the way you're going to get the best response, is to utilize email if you can, simply because that's the world we live in today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but if you happen to, you know, have a very good relationship with this center and you're there face to face, you can do it that way as well. We don't set that for you. You do it a way that's going to work best for you and the agencies you're working with. Any other comments?
I have another question.
Okay.
So to get a level, I totally understand what you're explaining about, you know, pre and post testing and, you know, what level 3 and level 4 trainings are. However, actually designing pre and post tests that deliver real information, so designing them effectively is not easy. That's a really tricky process for a lot of things. So is there further training to really learn how to do this right?
Well, first of all, it's not a test. So I just want to clear that up. If people heard that word freaked out. It's not a test. And it depends on the topic. For instance, a learning environment, drawing a pre-diagram and a post-diagram is not difficult. It's not difficult to ask for, and it's not difficult for them to do for you. All right? Now, if you're talking about a mean length of utterance, that does require a little bit more. So topic really depends on what it is. That's why I said earlier, it's not that you're going to be measuring 6 different things, 8 different things. You might be measuring 1 thing, maybe 2. All right? I'm just kind of putting that out there. So don't think that it's got to be a whole lot of things. We spend so much time in the face-to-face and you're only going to cover so much material, right? Well, if you only cover 1 or 2 meaty points, what you're going to have them doing back home for follow-up is going to be 1 or 2 things, or 1 at a time. So that limits how hard this is and that should make it easier. Then the other thing is, in the other part of that question is, we do offer Beyond Fundamentals training, and one of the Beyond Fundamentals topics, I believe, has to do with taking evaluation to a deeper level, doing level 3 and level 4. But from this training, you should be able to see your way through to starting to do level 3 and 4 evaluation, and utilizing myself or Christine to help you so that you don't not do it just because you think you need more training. Start to do it and we'll help you, okay? Plus we've got some more to go through here. All right?
That's ridiculous.
What's ridiculous? Maybe you weren't talking about this. Maybe you were. I don't know. I guess we'll go on with this ridiculousness and see where we head, okay? So, right now what's really important is that you really understand the difference between a level 3 evaluation question or statement and a level 1 evaluation question or statement. And we're going to take a poll, all right? And in doing that, what you're going to do is you can read the question on the screen, but there are folks that can't see the screen, so I'm going to be reading them out loud. And as I read the question, you are going to just click on the poll and decide whether you think it's a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, or a level 4 type of inquiry or type of question, all right? Questions about that, polling.
Nope.
Okay, those of you who cannot see the screen, I would ask you just, while you're sitting there listening to the question I read, identify for yourself what level you think it is. Level 1, participant reaction. Level 2, participant learning. Level 3, behavior change. Or level 4, results and impact. Oh yeah, you're right. All right, we're going to get started on the first question. Here we go. Here's the question, and you decide what level it is. Was an appropriate amount of content covered during this training? Before I move on, okay, we have 9. It looks like we have 9 people participating on the poll. Is that everybody? 10?
Participated, I don't know, but.
All right, I'm going to read the question one more time for the folks listening. You just decide whether this is a level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4 question. Was an appropriate amount of content covered during this training? Is that a participant reaction? Participant learning? You're asking if they think there was an appropriate amount of content covered. If you're asking somebody what they think, what is that, folks?
Level 1.
That's reaction. That is a reaction. What do you think? Was there enough content covered? I think there was. I think there wasn't. That's reaction. Okay? Are we clear?
Yes.
All right. Here we go. Next one. Are you motivated to attend a follow-up session on this topic? Poll. Are you motivated to attend? We're not talking about this workshop that I'm doing today. All right? We're talking about if you were asking this question on an evaluation, what kind of question is it? All right, it says, are you motivated to attend a follow-up session on this topic? What are you asking for from participants?
Their reaction.
Their reaction. Did you like it well enough to come back again? So that is a level 1 question. All right? Let's go again. Describe the difference between verbal and nonverbal adult-child interaction strategies. What level question is this?
2, because they've learned something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're right. You're asking what the difference is between verbal and nonverbal, so you are asking them about their learning. All right, let's try another one.
Susan, do you want us to participate by clicking on the screen or by actually speaking up on the phone?
Clicking. I especially want you to click. We've talked about a few of these because there's been more, it's kind of spread around, and so I want to make sure people understand. But I do want you to poll your gut feeling right away, and then we'll discuss.
Okay, great.
All right, next one. List the 3 steps an adult should use to introduce a child-initiated small group time.
Say that again.
List the 3 steps an adult should use to introduce a child-initiated small group time. What are we looking for here?
Level 3.
Level 2.
8 out of the pollsters so far say it's a level 2, which is participant learning. And that is correct. You're asking them to list steps. In other words, what did you learn about the steps about introducing child-initiated small group time? Okay? Here we go again. Was this training an effective use of your time? Okay? This is participant reaction because all you're asking for is, what do you think? Was this training useful? Was it worth your time being here?
Mm-hmm.
All right? If you've got questions, be sure and ask, okay? Next one. What are 4 to 6 different book genres represented in children's books?
Repeat that question.
Pardon me? You want me to repeat that?
Yes.
Yes.
What are 4 to 6 different book genres represented in children's books? So we're after what? What are we looking for here?
Level 2. Learning.
Okay, this is a level 2, also looking for what they learned.
Participants learning.
Yep, participant learning, level 2. Okay? Next. List current type and amounts of materials in the same areas you identified in the pre-training area inventory. What was your cue here?
Free.
Yeah. All right, that was very perceptive. All right, this happens to be a level 3 question. Now, all these questions that you're hearing have come off of things that participants have sent in. All right. So what you're seeing here is that somebody's asking now to list currently what they're doing so that it can be compared to the pre. Absolutely right.
Behavior change.
Yes, behavior change. Absolutely. Oops, wrong direction. Next one. Here we go. What's the percent of decrease in the use of single answer questions when talking with children at choice time? Okay. Anybody want to comment on this?
The level 4 because you're finding a result.
Actually, this is still dealing with behavior change. The adult is decreasing their use of single answer questions. I'm asking, what is the percent of decrease in the use of single answer questions? See what I'm saying?
It's not a level 4?
No, because we're not measuring the change that decreasing those questions is causing. If you're decreasing single answer questions, then the result should be that children are talking more, and that's the level 4. The level 3 is that the teacher is doing something different. The teacher is asking less single answered questions, and that's a good thing. Okay?
Okay, let me ask you something. This is Warnell. Would that come on a data collection?
Yeah, you could easily collect that data. Oh, I say easily, tongue in cheek. It's definitely a doable thing. You just take about 3 samples, say 3 5-minute interaction samples of the teacher talking to children, and you're tallying the single answer questions they're using. That's all. That's it. It's just a tally. Does that sound doable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Let's go on to the next one. List the verbal support strategies that encourage adult-child interaction. Okay, you pretty much have it. That is a level 2. Why is that a level 2?
The knowledge question.
It's a knowledge, and what are they looking for? What's the knowledge they're looking for?
They're looking for the data collection.
Verbal support strategies.
The verbal support strategies. That's exactly, all I want to know is in training, or this person wanted to know is, we talked about these in training, what are they? What are the verbal support strategies? So there's no data there. That is just asking, do you remember what they are? Okay? Increased score results on the ITERS, ECHRS, or class assessment.
I'm not familiar with those. Are those exams of the teachers or of the kids?
It's of the learning environment. Okay?
Learning environment?
Yeah. And it's an assessment, it's a classroom assessment. So you are right, the 4 of you that have said level 4, now why is it level 4?
Because it's a result of what the teachers have done.
That's exactly right. If they have made the kinds of changes that they were trained in and went back and implemented them, which is the behavior change, you should see an increased score in the results on any one of those classroom assessments. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Terrific. All right, onward. Let's see, if there's real discrepancies, I'll stop. But otherwise, I'm now just gonna run through them and see what the poll comes out. So when you read the question, just poll and let's see how it comes out, okay? If I think we should talk about it or if you have a question, speak up, all right?
Okay.
All right, here we go. What were 2 key learning points for you today? Poll. Okay, we are asking about what they learned about. That is a level 2. Next. On a scale of 1 to 5, rate the content knowledge displayed by the teacher.
System reaction.
On a scale of 1 to 5, rate the content knowledge displayed by the teacher.
Level 1.
That is a 1. You're absolutely right, because you're asking their opinion. Yep. And if you didn't poll 1, that's okay. You're learning from this. That's perfectly all right. Just so long as you know afterwards why it's what it is. Okay, next one. What did you like best about your training experience today? All right, unanimous. You're catching on. Here we go. What are 3 changes you will make based on the principles of the learning environment? 3 changes you would like to make based on what you learned today. Okay, the 75, oh, somebody changed their mind. That is a level 2. You're asking them to list the changes they'd like to make based on what they learned.
Okay.
All right, that would be something you'd read on an evaluation at the end of a training. What are 3 changes you will make? You're projecting, you know, what will you make, but you couldn't list those if you didn't learn about them.
What would be the balance of these questions?
What's that?
The balance.
Oh, we're going to talk about that when we're done with the poll. Thank you. Okay? Can you wait till then?
Yes.
All righty. Here we go. Was the pace of the training appropriate? Okay, you're right on there. Definitely an opinion. Tape means to audio tape and tally. Yes, no, single answer, and open-ended questions used while reading a book to children. Okay, from this, you are asking the teacher to do something. So is that at training or back home?
Back home.
That's back home. And if it's back home, it can't be level 1 and 2, right? It's got to be 3 and 4. So is this something the child is doing or something the adult is doing?
Adult.
The adult.
So that's behavior change. You got it. You got it. That's how you kind of analyze it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, that's a level 3. All right, here we go. Would you recommend the training to your colleagues? Absolutely. Opinion again. Ooh. Write 3 open-ended questions you might ask a child while they are engaged in play. They're just writing the questions, not asking them. Where might this happen?
At the training.
At the training. Level 2. What you're getting at is, do they know what an open-ended question is? Can they articulate that on the evaluation? You're right. Level 2. Was there enough time allowed for questions to be asked and answered? Do some of these questions sound familiar to you folks? Have you read them, experienced them?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And you're right. That is a level 1. Here we go. Was the content understandable? Okay, you're right. That's an opinion again. Was the content, they're not asking any question about the content, just did you think it was understandable? What do you think? That's your opinion. And then, please rate the overall value of the training to you on a scale from 1 to 5. All right. That's opinion again. Terrific. Now, I'm doing this right? Down to the bottom. Give me just a second to get back to the screen. All right. The poll is over. And now, I want to first of all thank you for taking the time to do that. And we're going to just do a little interpretation of the results, okay? So, as you look at this, just visually, don't try to read it so much, it's just visually look at it. Where do the most questions lie?
Level 1.
Level 1.
And then what level?
2.
Level 2. So when you see that, and you see there are less questions at level 3 and even less questions at level 4, what implications does that have for you as a trainer?
Warnell, determine changes.
What's that?
I said determine a change.
The change of what?
Your learning or your behavior.
Well, level 3 and level 4 tell us that, but as trainers, when we look at this and we see so many questions in level 1 and quite a few questions in level 2, let me put it this way. As trainers, what are we good at? What kinds of questions and inquiries
We're
are
good
people?
at level 1 and level 2, and we're not so good at level 3 and level 4. But level 3 and level 4 ask less questions and measure deeper change.
That's right. There's truth to that, but as you look at this, what you're knowing is that not only am I good at it because I've been a participant, but as a trainer, these 2 levels I can do and I can do them well.
Right.
Right? So that's one thing you have to get from this is that you're 50%, there. But the question that I would ask, let me go back here one, is why does this happen? Why are we better at level 1 and 2 than we are at level 3 and 4?
They're easier.
They are easier.
Is it more experience in those areas? Because it's our own knowledge.
I'm sorry.
Yep, yeah, it matches your knowledge. What else?
You need to know if you're doing a good job at your training before you can even, because, if you're doing a good job there, then probably the 3 and 4 will come.
Well, I'm going to take part of that. It is good to know how you're doing, and so that is a very common practice for us to do level 1 and level 2, and as a result, we get good information, and we're motivated. We're motivated to do it. We're not as motivated to do level 3 and 4 because we don't know how to do it so well. That's the only thing. I'll tell you one thing though. If you learn how to do it and you start getting the facts and the measurements that show increase in a change in behavior and results in impact on the children, you are going to be motivated to start using those levels. So the next question, now looking at this chart, which are the most critical levels and why?
Level 3 and 4?
Excellent, yes. And we're not doing much of it, but why are they so critical?
They show the change of behavior, and then they give us the results.
Okay, but what does that mean in terms of teachers? What does that mean in terms of the children? And what does that mean in terms of you and the director? Any one of those you can speak to. If we're going to say this is critical, we have to know why.
3 and 4 actually show an increase in quality.
There you go. Yep.
Increase in learning.
Increase in learning, increase in implementation. All of those lead to an increase in quality. So in terms of the director seeking you out to do training, what are the ramifications for you?
Repeat business.
Yeah. If you can show a director that based on the one workshop that you did for them, that there was a 56% or 11% increase in something, or a 9% or an 89%, do you think they're going to want you back?
Yes.
Yes.
They are. And you know what? It's not so much whether it's an 89% increase or an 11% increase. What's the key word?
Increase.
Increase.
And the way that you approach it is you say, oh my goodness, wait till you see the results of this. You have 11% more staff doing this now than before we did the training. Then you can follow it up by saying if they stick to it, that's going to increase even more, and we can measure that later on down the road. How do you think that's going to sit with the people wanting you to come to train?
Better.
Yeah. It's very motivating, and I will tell you right now, you're motivated by level 1 and level 2 because you kind of get the information you want, you're familiar with it, it's easy. But your motivation is really going to change, and my challenge to you is don't stop at level 1 and level 2, because you know what? That's very, very mediocre feedback. It gives you very little meat to fall back on and say, what really did my training do?
Sue?
Yes.
This is Tricia.
Tricia.
I would think that doing more level 3 and 4 also helps with the whole idea of what exactly do teachers need in terms of professional development.
Yes.
You know, it's not so much that they need to use open-ended questions, it's that they really need to learn how to be patient to wait for an answer.
Well, that's definitely part of the open-ended question thing. I would hope that was included in the training.
Right.
You ask the question and you wait. Okay?
Right.
But the other thing is, when they find out that it's making a difference and they're growing, do you not think that they're going to say, oh my God, I went to that training and I am actually doing something different? And even internally for the participant, they're going to say, I want more from that person.
Hopefully.
Because I really changed as a teacher. And I think that's where we fail too many times in the training world. We put out a lot of information, but you can read scads and scads of research about how it's not being implemented. And level 3 and level 4 help you address implementation with the director and with the participants and measure it so they know that implementation is making a difference. That's full circle. That's when you've really done training. If you're not doing level 3 and level 4, training is very surface and it is not generally implemented. Okay?
Do you have suggestions for how to get, for when you have directors who don't buy into that follow-up?
All right, I didn't quite get that. Try again.
Suggestions for what to do when a director is not interested in making sure people follow up.
Well, the beauty in this is number one, the responsibility is of the trainer to lay it out and have that conversation with the director and participants up front.
Right.
And really establish that as much as you can. Secondly, something, on a topic like learning environment that's very easy to do that and get that feedback, that's where I'd start, so that I can find a way to get feedback to the director to show him what I can do as a trainer.
Okay.
And what their staff can do when they really, really think about implementation and it's measured and measurable. And then what that meant to the children. I think it takes just one time like that to turn their head and go, all right, tell me more. Okay. Now, I can't promise you that, but I think the more you internalize that process, the more you're able to get that across to the director and to the staff so that they embrace it. But it's going to take a time or two to show them how you know how that works So they go, wow, this is so cool. And I think also, just to throw this in, giving some really simplified report out to parents is another good way, because parents speak volumes when they say to a director, I don't know who you have training for you, but when I read that report about my child is using longer, statements because of, or goes to the art area and the blood area more often now because of, that's cool stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And their voice will be heard by the directors, and you will be called again more than likely. Okay? Does that answer those concerns and those questions? All right, I'll move on. If you've got questions, we'll have time yet for some more. So I just want to ask you, what are the implications for trainers regarding planning for evaluation? All 4 levels of planning are what?
Important.
Ooh, you are right. All 4 levels of planning are important. The critical levels are level 3 and 4. So you have to remember that and start getting that in your repertoire. And with my help, gladly. All 4 levels of evaluation must be what?
Plan.
Plan. And you're exactly right about that as well. Critical information right there for you. All right. I'd like to end with just the last few minutes that we have with any additional questions or comments you now would like to share regarding this idea. Number 1, 4 levels of evaluation. That level 1 and level 2 happen at the training. Level 3 and level 4 happen after the training. And just questions you may have about that, or comments you'd like to share with the group on just the will to do this. The challenge that I'm setting out here.
This is Patty. I'm sorry, did I cut over somebody?
It's all right.
This is Patty. I just wanted to make a comment about the level 3 idea that we did here, but we didn't really realize it was a level 3. But now as I'm thinking about it, I think level 3 is so hard. It can be harder because to get back with people. Yes. And we actually did something here we called it Kick It Up a Notch, just to get people's attention. But we actually, at the training, at the end of the training, we give out a form that had the kind of change of behavior of teacher things we were looking for, and sent those home with them, and were able to actually give them an extra hour of credit when they completed and turned those back into us, and it worked really well. We had the chance to see, they could use pictures if they want, photos if they wanted to, but it required them showing a change in behavior from the training. So it worked for us. I'm not sure if it would work everywhere for credit, but it's an idea to send it home, and then you'll find out pretty quickly which of the people are going to be the ones who are actually making a change. Just a comment.
That's a very helpful suggestion, and when you can do that, make sure that you're authentically, if you're going to give them an hour of credit, 1 credit hour, it's got to be cleared, it's got to be okayed, and that it really is that. Again, we just all have to, play within the boundaries that that are set out for us as well. But yeah, something like that helps give them the motivation to want to try and do something a little bit out of the ordinary. I think also for those of you who don't have that flexibility, and thank you, Patty, that's absolutely something people can think about. The other thing is your approach, your passion about this, and your willingness to keep it simple for them and for you. We're not asking for measuring, 8 different things. I just say that again. We might be measuring only 1 thing, and to get as much feedback as you can. If 20 people attended your training and 10 followed through, work off that, because the more you do and the more you're able to send back these reports, the more I think people will be willing to say, I want to do that too. I want to be part of that study, So keep it simple. Keep it simple on yourself. Ask them to do 1 thing, measure it, and get the statistics with it. Make it a part of something that they would be doing anyway. And I think that if you keep it very simplified, very streamlined, the other thing I want to caution you too, don't try and do it with every group we're working with right now. I don't know anybody's specific situations. But I can tell you, try it with a group and work with them for a while in this. And when you start to feel that confidence, you'll be able to try it with additional groups. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be across the board, everybody, every time, everything. But with one group, get it under your belt a little bit. And the more you do, you will come across with more confidence. You will come across like, hey, this is not hard to do. This is something you can do. It's in the context, and you want to know this information. Participants should want to know this information, and so should directors. But you have to want that too. And so the passion and the motivation has to come from you. And so you have to take it easy on yourself. Do it with one group till you start to feel kind of confident. Any other comments?
Sue, my other comment would be, this is really hard to do when you're doing training at a conference.
Oh, yes. Yes. Now, I'll tell you right now, please, let's just keep this thinking about when you're doing, your face-to-face training and online stuff. Conference is a very different ballgame. Okay? Okay. Is that square with everybody?
Yes.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we're talking about training that you do pretty much face-to-face, or if you're online, doing online training and expecting change in the classroom from participants, okay, rather than conference attendees. Is that a good distinction?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else?
Yes. Would you contact maybe the director or each participant on level 3 or 4 to get the results back from that?
Well, when you're looking, the tasks in level 3 and 4 are the participants, but you definitely have a conversation up front with the director so they know that this is going to follow up, and either the director or you or both write some kind of little thing that you email participants to let them know that not only will they be attending training, but they're going to find out on down the road the impact of what they've learned. So you kind of pull them in, you grab them with a little bit of, you'll get this information too via what we're going to do in follow-up. Okay?
Okay.
So you set the stage. That's what that's all about, setting the stage way up front with everybody so everybody knows what's going on.
Setting the bar high.
What's that?
Setting the bar high.
Yeah, setting the bar. Exactly right. And making it sound intriguing and interesting and passionate. If there are no further questions, and you certainly can ask them more, or you can email me questions by all means, okay? I just want to remind you that following the completion of this webinar, you'll have an online assignment, and it gives you an opportunity to practice writing some level 3 and level 4 questions and inquiries. And I think that will be helpful to you. This poll gave you a good idea of the difference between level 3 and level 4. And we're not as good at identifying and writing them. That's why the practice. Okay?
Okay.
That said, I just want to say thank you for your time, your attention, and your participation. This is a deep topic. Never hesitate to email me with questions or help you might need to get you started and really be successful in this process over time. Okay?
Is the online assignment something that we have to do right now, or is it going to be in the module and we can...
It'll be in the module. It'll be in the module. Yeah. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank